Center for Credible Leadership and Citizens Awareness, in coalition with over 62 civil society and non-governmental non-profit organizations, as Nigerian citizens have decided to conduct an inquest on the EndSARS demonstration and the climax of the protests in Lekki Toll Gate, Lagos State on Tuesday, October 20th, 2020. This incident in Lekki was no doubt is still dominating the media space, for which some media outfits and bloggers classified as Lekki Massacre. There has been a heated debate on the role of the Nigerian Army in the enforcement of the curfew as announced by the Governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the number of those injured, and the number of deaths, if any, with substantial evidence to prove beyond reasonable doubt. We would want to re-emphasize that our coalition believes in the sanctity of the human life and the fact that every life is equal before our Creator. But for the purpose of this fact-finding and reality, we have chosen to be objective and as practical as possible. Now, the word Lekki Massacre, according to the dictionary, is synonymous with the Holocaust, carnage, bloodbath, death, slaughter, butchery. It also refers to large-scale, cold-blooded murder of human beings. Several reports on both foreign and local media says that this was the case in Lekki Toll Gate on Tuesday, October 20th, 2020. The protest was seemingly well organized, disciplined, and focused in their pursuit of the disbandment of the Police Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS. In a twinkle of an eye, the Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, joined the protesters, addressed them, and ran to Aso Rock Villa to see Mr. President and presented a 5-point agenda or demand. The President acceded to their request in principle. SARS was disbanded and modalities put in place to implement other demands. But the protesters were defiant. They remained on the streets and introduced other new demands. Some questions readily come to mind. 1. Why was Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu so quick to join the protesters? How did he come to identify their leaders as to be certain on their demands, what their demands were? And why did he run to Mr. President to submit their demand? The protesters continued. The longer the protesters stayed on the street, the more extraneous forces come in as protesters and systematically hijacked the protests on an alarming scale. Police stations were burned, policemen murdered in most gruesome manner. Armories of the Nigerian police was being looted as criminals made away with arms and ammunition, and there were general breakdown of law and order tending towards an anarchist situation. The governor at this time introduced the curfew and requested the help of the military in enforcing the curfew. Why did the protesters not disperse in line with their peaceful and law-abiding stance, knowing that the red line between legality and illegality had been crossed? A national newspaper claimed that 49 persons were murdered. Amnesty International claimed that 12 persons died. There was purported eyewitnesses who gave account on how soldiers shot directly on the protesters with unprecedented casualty with AK-47 rifles. The video that went viral showed men in military uniform cocking AK-47 rifles from the left-hand side and firing into the air. In this social media age, and with the sophistication that captured the men in military firing even in the dark, we expected to see at least someone who captured the killings, the dead bodies as evidences. Or at least we expected some families of Nigerian citizens to have come forward to lay claims on their loved ones who participated in the protest but are still missing. No family has done this as at the time of this briefing. Again, a lady protester who gave a narrative about the different types of bullets for the police and for the military also claimed that she with the aid of some other persons, aided some other persons who aided her, to carry dead bodies, about 17 dead bodies, into the military trucks. We believe that she must have been invisible to achieve the narrative that she gave, since according to her, it was a heavy and continuous firing by the Nigerian army. How come the alleged soldiers spared her life? There is this claim that the CCTV camera was removed. Our quest is that the camera which captured men in military uniform firing into the air ought to have also captured alleged direct shooting of protesters at close range and the evacuation of dead bodies as claimed by some reports. The PR Nigeria is a forensic expert company with Mahmoud Abu Salam as the assistant editor, has collected over 100 samples of footages showing dead bodies and those wounded. According to him, unquote now, when we subjected them to our reverse imagery testing tool, it indicated they were not recent, while others are manipulated images and doctored videos. We also observed circulation of old pictures of victims injured and killed during violent skirmishes unrelated to the End SARS demonstration across the country. 4 major deaths were either refuted, but the acclaimed deceased persons or discovered by several independent fact-finding organizations as false or unrealistic. The PR Nigeria also discovered that a Nollywood movie star, Eniola Badmus, who was allegedly shot in the stomach and died at the Lekki toll gate, had denied the social media report. This was evident in her Instagram page when she wrote that, unquote, "Against all speculations about me being shot dead at the unspeakable event that happened at the toll gate a few hours ago, I would like to inform you guys that I, Eniola Badmus, is hale and hearty. I could not make it there today to lend my voice to the End SARS movement." End of quote. Secondly, one Iraonye Godwin, a native of Otu, Auchi in Edo State, was also posted by the End SARS narratives as one of the persons allegedly killed by the soldiers. On Twitter, Godwin posted a video denying this report, saying that he was hale and hearty. The photo of a man carrying a dead body of a lady wrapped in the Nigerian flag was posted by Yemi Alade, was an image from a Nigerian movie acted with the theme, "Heal Our Land, O Lord." Again, Lucy Adu was the lady with an open skull posted in the social media while dancing and was said to have been allegedly struck on the head by the bullets of the Nigerian army an hour later. Her martyrdom was being celebrated all over the social media as one of the deaths in the Lekki toll gate. Investigations show that Lucy Adu died from an accident with a stationary truck on the 20th of October 2020. This is also confirmed by a new fact-checking Twitter handle on #NSAS http://twitter.com/NSASFCT-check. The fiction and lies reported by Amnesty International was unprecedented. Osai Ojibo claimed that 12 deaths were recorded, but relied on circumstantial evidences in her report. She also claimed she needed the permission of the deceased families to make the names public. What an irony. Our question today is, Nigerians, how did we get here? From the above overwhelming facts, it becomes evident that the NSAS protest was politically motivated and funded both internationally and locally with the sole aim of presenting the Nigerian military as murderous, and by so doing, spur sentiment from citizens and international community against the military and government, with the ultimate goal of destabilizing the federal government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who has, by media reports, initially said that there was no deaths in Lagos, later claimed to have visited several hospitals with a few injured persons and 2 deaths, is seen as someone who speaks from both sides of his mouth. He lacks the public confidence as far as this matter is concerned. Therefore, the setting up of judicial inquiry by the governor of Lagos State is a kangaroo one. The setting up of media judicial inquiry on these deaths by the governor of Lagos State is a kangaroo one. It is only a mockery. Finally, by this medium, we want to appeal to the very articulate and hardworking Nigerian youth to dissuade all attempts by some clandestine groups to make them return to the streets a second time. We urge them to embrace dialogue with government for a long-lasting peace in Nigeria.
I would like to ask, focus on forwarding all the narratives that have been put out since that are you by this statement saying that there was no killing in Lekki, or you are faulting the figures? I'd like to be very clear on that. If you are faulting the figures, I'd like to refer you to page 5, which is your last page, paragraph 1. You strongly made some statements there. Your sole objective was to present the Nigerian military as murderers and also to destabilize the government. So how did you come to arrive at this? When could it be that you meant that?
Right from the beginning, we re-emphasize our commitment to the Nigerian state. We re-emphasize our belief in the sanctity of the human life. We stated very clearly that we want to be as objective as possible, with the sole aim of achieving results. Now, human life is sacred. Nobody, in fact, is even permitted to kill anybody. But we are in strong terms saying that based on the situation that played out in Lekki on Tuesday, 20th October 2020, that the purported number of deaths, they started with 47, the media report was 47, another group said it was 19, then Amnesty International said it was 12. A woman who even came up with some bullets, empty bullets, shells, said she was, with the aid of some other persons, loading the dead bodies into the Nigerian army truck and asking them to eat the dead bodies since they've killed those human beings. My question is, if the Nigerian army had actually killed those people, don't you think if they are culpable, they would have as well shot the woman? Was she invisible? How did she maneuver the situation to be loading the Nigerian army's truck with dead bodies, and they still left her alive? We found out that these things are fiction. We found out that most of the stories that came up were not realistic. That does not rule out the possibility of having some truth. That does not rule out the possibility of having any deaths. But what we are saying is that the lies, the fantasies were overwhelming, and it's not good for us as a Nigerian nation. So, with regards to your question about Mr. Sanwo-Olu and all that, what we are saying was simple. Here is a governor who immediately came up while the protest started. He joined the protest, addressed them, and immediately came up and came to see Mr. President at the villa. Our question is simple. It's unambiguous. What we are saying is, how did Mr. Sanwo-Olu, the governor of Lagos State, identify the leaders of the NSAS to the extent of knowing what their demands were? These are critical questions we must ask as Nigerians. We are asking questions, and then we demand some answers. How did he know the leaders? How did he know what their demands were? And as a government that is very proactive to the yearnings and aspirations of every citizen in Nigeria, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria acceded to the demands, the 5-point demand that the governor brought. So immediately the SARS was disbanded. Was that not enough? And modalities were being put in place for the other 4 demands to take immediate effect. So what our questions were, or is why did the protesters still remain on the street in spite of the fact that immediately the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria accepted these facts, accepted their demand, and then immediately SARS was disbanded? It shows that there is a fifth columnist. A fifth columnist is attached to the NSAS. So we are also aware that there was international sponsor of the NSAS movement. We have international sponsors and local sponsors. And their aim was to present the Nigerian military. I'm not standing in for the Nigerian army. What we are saying is based on the facts as seen, on the 20th of October 2020 in Lekki Toll Gate. So our position is simple and very unambiguous and also very clear.